It's Tuesday, the 25th of January, 2022. I arrived home yesterday morning at about 5 a.m. So please do excuse me if I fall at some point during the recording. Joining me today in an all Northern Hemisphere lineup from Brixton and Mumbai, respectively, it's Nish Kumar and Anuvab Pal. Hello, both of you. It's lovely to be back in the same hemisphere as you both after the last couple of months. How have you been?
Good, Andy. It's not been a great, as a person of dual heritage from England and India. Cricket has not been kind to me over the last couple of months.
No.
Double series defeat for both identities that I claim. How was the experience of being at the Ashes, Andrew?
Well, it was in some ways great in that it was, a childhood dream of mine to follow an Ashes series around Australia.
I know, it's very exciting.
In other ways, it was probably the worst time ever to follow. We are recording on the 25th of January 2022. On this day in 1533, Henry VIII secretly married his second wife, Anne Boleyn, a relationship that I think it's fair to say did not end well. He packed a lot of wives into his final decade and a half of his reign. He died in 1547, and this was only wife 2, so that's 5 new wives in the last sort of 14, 15 years of his life, which that's pretty good effort from KH8, as he was known, all his branding. Thanks, with you. I've got to get a move on. Still stuck on wife number 1. Today is in America is National Opposite Day, where you have to say the opposite of what you mean. In Britain, that's just known as every day. And also must explain why, for example, Boris Johnson today is still saying I did nothing wrong, or they didn't fully explain why he's saying it every other day as well. So
I like the idea that in America, National Opposites Day is legally verifiable. Should we go back to the Clinton Lewinsky affair and see if he said I did not have sexual relations with that woman on National Opposites Day, and whether that stood in a court of law?
The world is at war, or may well be by the time you listen to this. Since we last broadcast the Bugle a couple of weeks ago, when the year was still waking up somewhat blearily, somewhat complacently, thinking that it wasn't going to be as shit as its 2 immediate predecessors, 2022 has really started grinding into action in the classic manner of modern years, dumping turd after turd onto the world's breakfast plate of news. Now, it does seem that the situation in Ukraine is getting more fraught than would be ideal. It is hard, I would say this from a British perspective, Nish, to work out currently which is more important on an objective, global, cosmic, even philosophical level, whether a career political shithead did or did not go to what was or was not a party for however not long, or one of the world's most powerful and unaccountable military powers invading a frankly massive European nation in a bout of what we can only assume is historical nostalgia for simpler times when everyone did that kind of shit all the time, and we were all happy to march off to war and mutually slaughter one another as a result. I mean, what would you say is bigger in the grand scheme of things? Boris Johnson eating a fucking cake, or Russia amassing 120,000 troops on the border of Ukraine?
I would say, I mean, as someone who is not a fair weather friend to the Northern Hemisphere like you, Andy, I've been in Britain pretty solidly. I'd go further. I'd say exclusively for the last couple of months, and all of our talk about parties, which I'm sure we'll come to later, it is starting to feel like a man on the Titanic as the top half of it snaps off into the sea, yelling at the cook for overcooking the scallops. It's starting to feel a little bit like we may have our priorities skew with.
Right.
The situation in the UK...
To be fair, though, Nish, an overcooked scallop is really irritating.
Oh, it's a crime against the mouth, Andrew.
Isn't it just?
It's a crime against the mouth, as opposed to a crime against the ears, which is a review of my 2013 Edinburgh Fringe show.
Look, I mean, the Indian Prime Minister, Prime Minister Modi, who is a very, very wonderful, lovely man.
They've got you. They finally got to it.
Yeah. because
just out of shot, I can see the end of a revolver. I think just out of shot.
Yeah. Well, he is getting a copy of this recording. The Bugle sound editor is being held at gunpoint. So there is Nish. You are correct. A pistol involved. He's a wonderful man, and he looks up to Vladimir Putin for lessons of democracy and openness and transparency. And for both these world leaders, there is something that is really sort of, disconcerting to them when there is a large period of peace and stability in the world. So luckily, they had, Vladimir Putin had the Russian hacking of the US elections for a long time to keep him busy. Then there was the pandemic, and now he needs something. So, I think, and Prime Minister Modi looks up to that. So whatever invasion Putin does, we'll try to do a little one in India.
Other top story this week, Boris Johnson is still Prime Minister. Words that I guess I fully expected to be saying, but still should not be saying. He's clinging on despite increasing rumblings of discontent from within the Conservative Party, and now a police investigation into several of the alleged parties in Downing Street and Westminster that have potentially contravened COVID regulations. I did think I got on a 24-hour flight, essentially from Australia, and I did wonder whether, I would switch my phone on at Heathrow to find that the Prime Minister had resigned. But I mean, I think it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take to make him actually resign. The latest total, I think, is around 17 different parties, or PRGs, party resembling gatherings, during various lockdowns, including this week a birthday party from 2020, his 56th birthday, a micro festivity involving his chief of staff, his deputy, his senior advisor, his agent, and his wife, who are all the same person, it should be said, presenting him with a Union Jack birthday cake. And I thought this was the detail I liked, Nish and Anuvab, the Union Jack birthday cake at this party. He claims he was only there for less than 10 minutes. But what more appropriate metaphor could there be for Boris Johnson's prime ministership than being presented with something with a national flag on it, cutting it up, giving bits of it to his friends, shoving a huge amount of it in his own mouth, slobbering all over it as he destroys it and everything it stands for, and then shitting it out and flushing it to oblivion. We all like to perform a metaphor on our birthdays, but I think that is going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, I should say, for the international listenership of this podcast, the scandal about the parties that may or may not have happened in 10 Downing Street is being referred to in sections of the British press as Partygate. And I cannot stress this enough. This is what passes for Watergate in our country. It's an event that may or may not involve people wearing novelty hats and blowing on streamers. So yes, the latest round. Basically, I know, honest to God, professional clowns who attend less birthdays than these cunts. Like, it is absolutely bananas. In normal circumstances, the amount of fucking work parties that these motherfuckers are involved in would be unprecedented. You'd be asking if they were getting work done under normal circumstances. So look, the latest thing is this potential birthday cake / not birthday cake. Downing Street has not even denied that this took place. At least this time we've hot that stage of them going, there wasn't a party, and then a photograph emerges of Johnson with his fucking nutsack in a cake, and they go, oh no, there was a party, sorry everyone. They've hopped straight to the next phase of their remonstrations, which is getting into an existential debate about what constitutes a party.
India news now, and alcohol is a huge part of the negotiations for the forthcoming, hopefully, India-UK post-Brexit trade deal. Work has begun hammering out, always with the hammering out, the trade deal. And Anuvab, as our British-Indian trade correspondent, I mean, it's fair to say that times have changed over the century since previous trade deals were hammered out between Britain and India, often involving terms such as actually, I think you'll find we own that diamond, as well as perhaps you'd like to discuss that with our army of 250,000 soldiers. And don't worry, our research suggests that starvation is 99% psychological. So, I mean, things have changed.
A little, yeah.
But Britain wants lower tariffs on whiskey, which is one of the key points of the lower tariffs on Scotch whiskey. How excited is India about helping Britain to rebuild itself as a global force post-Brexit?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Andy. The India Today magazine, one of our leading magazines, is calling this the whiskey for visas trade deal. So apparently the way it works is you give us single malt whiskey, which we drink and we pay for, and in return we get visas from Britain so that Indians can flee and study in Britain. I don't know why this is happening, because I'm very, very happy in India with our Prime Minister, or whoever in the Ministry of Home Affairs is receiving this recording. So I don't know why this is happening, but apparently some people believe there are no jobs in India and they'd like visas to go and study in Britain and Canada. I don't know who these people are. And frankly, I think it's a really tiny number of maybe 600 or 700 million people. So, this is happening, So there is a theory in economics, as you well know, of guns and butter, right? Yeah. So it explains the relationship.
Axl Rose went after him and Slash had that
It's the basis of the band, exactly. So a country can apparently either make butter or make guns, depending on whether one's strategy is offense or defense. So if, like Vladimir Putin, you want to build a defense economy, you'll have a lot of guns. If you want to have jobs and that sort of thing, you have butter. We have a different model. What we're saying is ours is the get drunk or flee model. So either you stay here and get pissed on single malt, or get a British visa and get the hell out of here. It's a new kind of economics. But along with this, I just want to suggest to the two of you two new kinds of possible trade deals. And one of them is we give you all our elephants and you teach us what is or is not a party. This is a new kind of trade deal. And the other one we've already discussed, which is, you keep the Kohinoor and all the stuff. We give you the recipe for the authentic Indian chicken tikka masala, and you give us Boris Johnson. So that is the other trade deal.
Massive potato news now, and a giant potato is...
Are we back on Boris Johnson? Blammo. 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 Recover from that, BJ. You party bellend.
A massive potato has been caught up in a cheating scandal. The potato.
Wait, Andy, it's not helping the Boris Johnson comparison.
It's having to have its DNA tested again. Johnson's had some probably experience with. It's having to have its DNA tested after smashing the record for biggest ever potato. And now, to prove it is indeed a potato rather than, I don't know, an alien life form, or, as it's from New Zealand, a rugby player, it's having to have its DNA tested to prove that it is genuinely a potato. It's tipped the scales at 7.9 kilograms, or in New Zealand terms, a 13th of a Richie McCaw. And it's absolutely mashed the existing record of just under 5 kilograms for a potato. The Mega Spud record is being hailed as the most exciting moment in New Zealand history since rugby star Buck Shelford played on for the All Blacks with a lacerated scrotum against France in 1986. And well, I mean, what a performance from this potato! I've got to say, it rose to the occasion. So this pandemic is our ticket out of all the world's global economic problems if we are just patient.
It's always worth remembering that Andy Zaltzman has written a book about economics.
Always.
Never forget.
The interesting thing there in that article is that apparently Elon Musk, your favorite person, Andy, his thing is his net worth is up 1,000% in the last year, and and it said, Bill Gates in comparison is up a paltry 30%.
Pussy!
He's had a tough pandemic, Gates.
Yeah, it's difficult. He's only at some 21 billion now. Whereas, and here's my theory, guys. I think that the reason Elon Musk is up 1,000% is because he was on Saturday Night Live, because comedy is where the money is.